I loved the class so much that my second semester senior year, I took another acting class. And in fact, I started doing stand-up comedy, which I'd never done before, at the Michigan Union at the U Club. So that by the time I was sitting where you guys are today with my CS degree, I had offers from 3 technology companies to go work for them as a programmer, but I decided instead that what I would do is move to Chicago, try to get into the improv comedy group Second City, and go on from there to Saturday Night Live and ultimate fame and glory. While I kept on improvising in Chicago for many years, I want to tell you 2 lessons I learned in that very first year there, learning at Second City. The first one was, we had this director at Second City who was instructing a class I was in named Don DiPaolo. And there were 4 people up on stage, there were about 10 of us in the class, and these guys are improvising that they're in a laundromat. And the scene ends, and Don asks all of us in the room, what do you see up there on that stage right now? And there's nothing up there, so we describe what we see up on the stage. It's an empty stage. And Don says, so far today, you guys have improvised that you're in an apartment, a laundromat, and an apartment. What are you afraid of? We all kind of looked at each other like, what do you mean, what are we afraid of? And he said, you need to make more courageous choices. The reason the stage is completely empty and doesn't have a set on it is so that you can go out there and be in the Keebler Elf factory or be on the space shuttle as an astronaut who's never even tried to fly a plane before. Make bigger choices, take courageous risks. And a few months later, I was studying at Second City with another legendary director there, Martin DeMott, and Steve Carell was out on stage. Steve and I were on the same group, and he was improvising something, and I was backstage, and I thought of this amazing line. And I thought, I got to go out there and get into the scene, and I'm going to get this line out. And so I enter the stage, and I try to start moving the scene in the direction of what I wanted to say, and Martin stops the scene, says, stop. And he says to the whole class, but really he's talking to me, he says, you can't plan a script. The beauty of improvisation is you're experiencing it in the moment. If you try to plan what the next line is supposed to be, you're just going to be disappointed when the other people on stage with you don't do or say what you want them to do, and you'll stand there frozen. Be in this moment. And he stopped everyone in the room and said, all of you, right now, be in this moment. Now be here in this moment. Now be here in this moment. I continued to stay in Chicago and improvise there for many years, and ultimately got lots of auditions for shows and got none of them. Fortunately, during this time, the internet happened. If there's ever an example of the importance of making bold bets and focusing on what you love, it's Twitter. None of us at Twitter thought during the earthquake and ensuing tsunami in Fukushima, Japan, that our service would be a great alternative communication platform if the mobile networks in Japan were spotty in the aftermath. And certainly none of us even hoped, let alone considered, that our platform would be one of those used to organize protests across the Middle East in Tunisia and Iraq and Egypt during the Arab Spring. Here's the amazing thing about what I've observed when I've witnessed all those things. Not only can you not plan the impact you're going to have, you often won't recognize it even while you're having it. And it's always like that. The impact is what others frame for you and the world after it happens. The present is only what you're experiencing and focused on right now. And every so often, my past and present come together. I was invited to this fundraiser at this children's hospital in the Bay Area last year, and Steve Carell was the guest speaker. And so I took a photocopy of this review of the group that Steve and I were in in Chicago over 25 years ago to the charity auction. And I showed it to Steve when I got a chance to talk to him. He's mobbed the whole time by people, but we got a chance to have a brief conversation, and we looked at this photocopy of the review and talked about the different people in the group and where they were now. And we'd kept in touch with some, but not with all of them. And at the end of that conversation, Steve patted me on the back and he said, "I'm really sorry it didn't work out for you." You cannot draw that path looking forward. You cannot draw any of your paths looking forward. But from here on out, you have to switch gears. You are no longer meeting and exceeding expectations. There are no expectations. There's no script. When you're doing what you love to do, you become resilient because that's the habit you create for yourself. You create a habit of taking chances on yourself and making bold choices in service to doing what you love. If, on the other hand, you do what you think is expected of you or what you're supposed to do, and things go poorly or chaos ensues, as it surely will, you will look to external sources for what to do next because that will be the habit you've created for yourself. So instead, what I implore you to do is believe that if you make courageous choices and bet on yourself and put yourself out there, that you will have an impact. I implore you to remember those 2 lessons I learned years ago. Be bold. Make courageous choices for yourself. Be in the Keebler-Elf factory. What are you afraid of? And secondly, don't always worry about what your next line is supposed to be, what you're supposed to do next. There's no script. Live your life. Be in this moment. Be in this moment. Now be in this moment.